Life is full of challenges and difficulties. Many of these come upon us involuntarily, like loss or illness or the need to work hard to support yourself or your family. In order to be able to endure these difficulties and overcome these challenges, you need will. You need a strong, healthy sense of will. Will is what you've got when, while things are hard, you know you'll be able to do it, even though it's hard, and make it to the other side. Will is what allows you to start something new, coming from a place where you're kind of stagnant, or you have no motivation, but you know you can get something started and then build some momentum. Will provides that momentum. The start is difficult, but then it gets going and develops its own kind of rhythm. Will is a resource that not everybody has. In some of us, it's very weakly developed. In some of us, it's overdeveloped. We use will for things that we ought not use will for. And some of us have developed a healthier sense of will. Let me talk about what it's like to have too little, too much, and how to get more if you know you need this for yourself. Some of the pathologies of insufficient will are things like despair and hopelessness, or a feeling of powerlessness that goes with passivity. If you feel hopeless about something, it means you don't think you'll ever be able to get somewhere, or nothing will ever change. If you've got that kind of healthy will that I'm talking about, you know that you will be able to marshal whatever resources it takes to get to wherever it is that you need to go. Instead of being hopeless about the idea that you'll ever be able to find a romantic partner, you recognize that there may be things you need to do to learn about dating, or to improve yourself to be more attractive to others. You may need to get help. And if you know that you've got the capacity to get wherever it is you want to go, you get creative, you get people who know things that you don't know to help you, you develop new capacities over time. That's all part of getting whatever you need to in line to be able to achieve your goals. That's what it's like to have will instead of a sense of hopelessness or despair. Some people use will too much, and you know that you're overwilled if you find that you don't enjoy life as much because you're too goal-oriented, or the people around you don't enjoy life as much because you're too goal-oriented, or you find yourself being stressed instead of present, pushing through in places where you ought to just recognize your limits or your boundaries or let go. And there are complementary resources that are important to develop, like the ability to go with the flow, or to be in the moment, or to do things more easefully. There's a term that practitioners of the Alexander technique use. They say someone is end-gaining when they're putting too much effort into an action. When you walk with all this muscular effort that's unnecessary in order to get where you're going. And they help people learn how to do it in a more easeful, more effortless way. And so often people who overuse will use too much effort to get things done that could be done with less effort. So if you want more will, how do you get it? Well, there's some way that you can exercise will. You can voluntarily take on challenges and difficulties that are in some way enjoyable or enriching in order to be able to get more of that will for yourself. A funny thing that is really worth considering is how strong your abdominal muscles are. This part of the body is where will comes from. And if your abs are weak, it's hard to do certain things. Having strong abdominal muscles allows you to do things like say no, or create a boundary between yourself and another person, or contain frustration when things get difficult. That all actually is done in part by the muscles of your body being able to hold all that energy. So do Pilates or do something that allows you to strengthen your abs. That actually matters. People who've got strong abs are able to do things like notice when they're doing kind of negative self-talk and interrupt it. They can use will to do things like say, no, I'm not going to think those thoughts anymore. Those thoughts are not good for me. I'm going to interrupt them and say to myself the things I want to say to myself. That is an interactive will. I see a lot of people in the world of counseling developing will through taking on emotional challenges. They get to some place in their work on themselves where there are a lot of painful emotions to have to feel. And people who don't have strong enough will kind of collapse or retreat in the face of those. But if you have a sense like you can endure, then people will allow themselves to go into the painful feelings deliberately, to go through the experience of what it's like to get out the other side. And they tell themselves certain things. They say things to themselves like, I can do this. This will heal me. This will make me more the person who I want to be. It's no different than if I'm out running and it's really difficult to keep running, but I tell myself things like, this will make me stronger. I'm going to be healthier after this run is over. That helps me get through in the moments when I want to stop and not keep going. And sometimes I stop and rest and recognize my limitations so I'm not over-efforting. But those thoughts are part of how you develop will. You remember that there's a reason to keep going past the place of discomfort, past the place where you don't think you can go any further, because it gets you somewhere where you want to go and it makes you someone you want to be. I've just been climbing up this untrailed mountain pass with some friends of mine, and one of my friends, his legs were just shot. He just climbed a lot yesterday, and partway up it was just got harder and harder for him to climb, and he just kept pushing through, and there was something so beautiful about it. There was something inspiring about seeing him just grunt his way step after step, because he wanted to get to the top, and he knew that he would recover, and he knew that it would make him stronger. And he was able to tell himself those kinds of things to keep him going. So I encourage you, if will is something that you notice is weak in you, if you're one of these people who just kind of always wants to flow with things or let other people guide, it's worth figuring out how to take on challenges deliberately and voluntarily to learn to overcome them to strengthen your will. Now, if you excuse me, I've got to get the rest of the way up this pass to see what's on the other side.